Hello, welcome back. Hope you have done practice of the previous session. In the last session, we understand how to use a use effect, and we have given a just empty dependency array. Of course, we didn't discuss about what is the purpose of this dependency array, when we should go with a empty dependency array, what will happen, and what is the purpose of that. We are going to learn in detail in this today's session. And one more thing, okay, along with that, we are going to understand, okay, life cycle of React component. Okay, this is a diagram for class based components, but of course we are using hooks now. We are using completely functional components. Okay, there we don't have a component did mount and component did update, component will unmount, but technically we are going to use the same kind of effects with the help of use effect. Okay, with one use effect hook, we can achieve we can achieve component did mount, component did update, and component will unmount. Okay, and render phase as well. Okay, of course this whenever you do a set state and force update, and whenever the new props came, like the same functionality is there in a functional component itself, and we are going to learn, okay, in detail. Okay, for that you need a patience and just watch till the end and practice along with me so that you will learn a lot. Before jumping into the topic, let me take the confirmation from the team. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, yes, Anna.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you. Now we can go on mute. So, fine. Let me create a simple component called counter. Okay, I'm just removing everything. Okay, I will just create from the beginning so that it's easy to understand the use effect at the same time life cycle. So I'm just creating again function the counter. It is going to return what have you done? JSX. Like I'm just putting a div element and just put one h1 tag, and it will display the count column. So let's say let's use a use effect. So first we can just export it. Export the default count. Sorry, COUNTER. Export default counter. Okay. I think just go to app.js file and make it a use of counter component. Just go and import the counter from the proper path. Right now, I'm just going to comment the post details which we have done in the last session. So I'm just going to use the counter now. In the counter, so I we need to use a state so that we need to store the count information. For that, I'm just using constant use state. Okay. Normally, whenever you try to use the use state, automatically it will import. Otherwise you just import use state from the React. Of course we are going to use effect as well. First just go and write the count and the set count and use effect. It's fine. So here we can display the count value, and we know if you just put a button. I'm just taking only one button for increment, that is enough. And we can add or click event. Okay, handle increment. Just add a event handler like handle increment. Otherwise, just go with the constant handle. Just copy that. Make it add a function. Just handle. Just go with the event handler. Just set count, and we know if you want to update the count, we can go with the count plus one. Right now we are just updating only one time. We are calling the set count only one time. That's why you can go with the count plus one. Otherwise, always if you want to make it every time perfect, just go and pass the arrow function syntax so that it will check the previous state properly and it will update it properly. Okay, fine. Very good. I hope that will work. It will make sense. Let's see what is there in the application. So count. Okay, let's give some initial value like 0. Otherwise, it will be undefined or something. So count 0 and increment 1, 2, 3. So it's working perfectly. So here we should understand some life cycle things, okay, life cycle methods. So in the previous sessions, we understand that if you want to do any changes to the state before rendering, okay, if you want to do any calculations or any changes to the state or any information which is there inside the counter component, okay, you can use this place. You can use this place. Okay.
అన్న రగన్న
Yeah.
అన్న
Yeah.
రగన్న
Tell me.
అన్న ఇక్కడ సెట్ కౌంట్ లో ఓన్లీ కౌంట్ ప్లస్ వన్ అని రాసిన కూడా వస్తుంది కదా అన్న.
Awesome. Yeah. Even if you give a countless one, it will work. But previously we understand, right? Suppose by mistake, if you fall here 3 times, at the time, if you want to get a proper output, okay, you should pass the arrow function. Do you remember that one?
ఓకేనా,
Yes.
ఇది ప్రీవియస్ స్టేట్. ఓకే రైట్, గుడ్.
Yeah. In this situation, okay, because we are just calling the set count only one time. This is absolutely perfect. No problem. But for practicing purpose, I'm just putting like count arrow because many times they will ask in the interview. Okay. Got it?
ఎస్ అన్న.
Okay, good. So here we should understand the life cycle process. Okay, here I just draw a diagram. So every component will go to like majorly 3 phases. One is okay, render, or we can call it as a re-render also. Okay. And so once that calculations things happen, and once that React is decided that what should update on the original DOM, so that phase is called, you can say, commit phase. Commit phase. And the another phase is like understand once you update the changes to the original DOM. Here in the render means it will update the things to virtual DOM only. Virtual DOM. Okay, things will update to the virtual DOM. Then it will do a reconciliation algorithm, everything, and once we got the result, and then we will go and commit to the original DOM. So once we have the changes to the original DOM, and it will go and it will paint on the canvas. Okay, it will paint on the canvas. This is very important. So this is okay. We can call it as a mounting completed or something. Okay, otherwise just leave it like it's a painting, a painting phase. So here observe carefully. So if I put a console.log here, okay, we will get this message every time whenever the component is rendered. So observe carefully. I'm just putting inspect. Go to the console, render, and whenever you click on increment, again you got rendered. So how many times you do changes to the state, and every time it is going to re-render, right? You remember, because whenever you do changes to the state, it will trigger the re-render. So it will go and it will do the calculations. Okay, fine. It will go and it will render one more time. So then it will find out the what is the difference between the previous state and the current state, and then it will update the virtual DOM. So it will go with diffing algorithm and reconciliation algorithm. So here and here what I'm doing, I'm going to implement use effect also. Okay, use effect. So let's do use effect. Right now, in this situation, right now we are not getting any information from the server side or something. But to understand the life cycle methods, I'm just using the use effect. Here I'm just putting like console.log. Okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm in use effect. Okay, let's see, just make it like I'm in use effect. That's it. Okay, now tell me, just guess it. Just guess it. So right now I'm just removing everything. Refresh. Okay, whenever the application is loaded first time, whenever this component is loaded first time, yes, it is going to execute this one first. Okay, this one. Okay, because this is in the rendered phase. This is in rendered phase. Okay, render. Whenever the component render happen, at the time that is going to execute. And when, because here some sort of confusion will be there, because whenever we do multiple updates, it is going to batch those updates and with the commit. Okay, so instead of just coming out of the confusion, just remember the three things. Whenever the component is whenever the component is rendered, and whenever the component has done a commit to the changes to the original DOM, and here the paint. Okay, so now this use effect is there now. This use effect is going to execute, okay, this callback function once after it is updated the things on the paint, like once the painting has happened on the web page. Okay, so the timeline, I'm just giving the timeline here. It is going to execute here. It is going to execute use effect after painting is done, after everything is done. So, but this is there now, console.log, whatever you do, because even if you do and how many console.logs, everything, this is going to execute at rendered phase. Okay, whenever the component is rendered, okay, that is going to execute. We can say like I'm just giving that phase is like a calculation. Please go on mute if you don't have anything.
So Raghu,
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
use effect is like a kind of re-render process.
Yeah, whenever not re-render process, the thing is, suppose if you want to take any action after our changes has completed and it has painted on the original DOM, like it is painted on the web page. After that, it will invoke this use effect. Okay, but yeah, I will come to that point. So is it that re-render? When we go for re-render, what will happen? So first time, just consider the first time, okay, rendered phase. Then we can go for a re-rendering also. So first render phase, yes, this calculation will happen. This calculation will happen whenever it is rendered. Render is complete. When like rendered means like before render actually, because whenever it is going to do a changes to this. Okay, whenever we do react dot create element, right, at the time it will return the snapshot. It will return that. Because if you, in the last session, like we understand, like we have a post information. If you want to filter based on, suppose if you want to display only 5 items, if you want to display only 2 items, at the time we are doing calculations here, right, we are doing some filtrations. So it will happen before it is converted into a normal document. Okay, I will explain it. I will explain here. Some slight difference will be there. I will explain that in detail. So here, just come to the point. So use effect is there. Use effect is there. And observe carefully. If you have at least basic idea about class-based components, means this is component did mod, means this once React updates DOM and references, and once it is painted properly on the web page, so it will provide a hook, it will provide an effect, so that in that if you want to do it, you can take some action. So here, okay, here this is I'm use effect. So now just guess one thing, just guess one thing here. Whenever I do a rendered first time, so I just refresh, so it is rendered and I'm in use effect. So just understand the sequence. First this rendered happen, then only that use effect has executed. That means use effect is executed after completing the painting, and this calculation, like whatever we have done console dot render, that is happened in the rendering phase. Okay, now whenever we do some updates to the state, then it will go for a re-render, right? Again, it will go for a re-render process. Re-render. So now tell me, in that re-rendered process, whether it is going to execute this calculation area or not, whether it execute this one or not, whether it will do calculation again or not. Understood my
You're telling
question?
that console.log will print again or not?
Yeah, yeah. This console.log will print again or not when it is go for a re-render. Vasanta, you got my question? Rajender,
నా వన్ సెకండ్ ఇంకోసారి చెప్పనా అర్థం కాలేదు.
simple. Whenever you do set on, okay,
ఓకే
it is triggered re-render, right?
ఓకే అవును ఎస్ అవునా.
At that time, whether it is going to execute this line of statement or not. మనం రీరెండర్ చేసినప్పుడు మళ్ళీ ఈ console.log rendered ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతాయా అవవా?
When you click on that button, then only it will re-render.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whenever you click on a button, it is going to re-render. At the time, whether it is going to log that message or not.
వస్తుందన్న, రెండు మెసేజ్లు వస్తాయి మళ్ళీ. రెండర్ అవుతుంది, మళ్ళీ ఐ మీన్ యూస్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అని రెండు వస్తున్నాయి మెసేజ్లు. ఇంక్రిమెంట్ క్లిక్ బటన్ క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు.
What Rajendra is saying, so it will do a console.log of rendered and it will print and I mean use effect also. Okay. Then Varun, what is your answer? Just guess it because so far I didn't explain.
Just confused, Raghu, because it will take a snapshot and it will take the previous changes.
Yeah, it will take a previous changes. It will render. It will render. Yes.
Yeah.
Only thing is whether this use effect is going to execute once again after repainting. Right. Here re-rendered. Okay, here repainting also done, right? If you have done any changes, okay, repaint has done. So after repainting, whether this use effect is going to execute or not. Vasanta, just tell me whether it is going to execute or not.
Yeah, it will go. It is going to execute, Raghu.
ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అన్నది.
Okay, I'm asking question to Vasanta also. Vasanta, are you there? Just tell me yes or no whether it is going to execute use effect again or not. No, she's saying no. Okay, okay, let's see whether it will execute or not. And who are watching this video, maybe I've just explained and maybe there's a chance that you will in a confusion, but don't worry. The simple, whenever I click on a button, it is going to re-render once again, right? That is sure, we already understand that. And at the time whether it is going to execute this statement, at the same time whether it is going to execute use effect or not. That's what my question. Okay, Rajendra and Varun said it is going to re-render one more time, it is going to execute one more time. See, yes, it is happening. Whenever you click on increment, it is going to re-render, right? Whenever it is re-rendering happening, yes, it is going to execute. And whenever that repaint happened, because repaint happened, right? Because the count is 0 and now count is 1, we have one small change in the UI, so that that reconcile that diffing algorithm will find out there is a change in the UI, that the value if for that h1 is 0 to 1, so that and then you will give those changes to the so previously diffing algorithm do calculation, and it will hand over to the reconciliation algorithm. That reconciliation algorithm is going to update the things on the original DOM. Then whenever we have done changes in the original DOM, yes, it is going to do a repaint one more time. Whenever, okay, repaint one more time at the
So it
time.
will trigger the component Nanago. So it is going to print all the changes what is there in the component, right? It is going to re-render that whole component, right?
Yes, it is going to re-render all the component. That's why you are saying that it is going to execute use effect also, right?
Yeah, Raghu.
Very good. So how many times if you click on that, it is going to do, it is going to execute those two phases, right? Understood. Fantastic. So here, the simple thing is, in a class-based components, there is a clear distinction between component did mount and component did update. That means component did mount means the first time that UI, that component has loaded onto the original DOM and the painting also completed. That is called component did mount. Update means whenever you do re-render, at the time we are calling as, okay, the updation happened because already the the HTML element already there in the original DOM, that is painted on the browser. And now whenever we do a set state or set count, at the time it is going to re-render, and again it will come to the same phase, that is component did mount. But here in the functional components, we don't have a separate like effects like component did use effect, or component will update use effect, or component will unmount use effect. Nothing is there. So we are going to handle all the situations with the same use effect. Okay, the simple thing is, yes, whenever you update the changes, it is going to render one more time. It is rendered one more time. That is why it is executing. And once the painting has done, it is going to execute one more time for each and every repaint. But if you want to restrict that, okay, what I'm saying, so I don't want, because I want to execute this use effect only once in the initial render. I don't want to execute this use effect for each and every time I'm going to update the DOM. Okay. Do you know how to control it?
Yeah, Raghu.
Understand my
You need to
question?
do dependencies.
Understand my question?
Yeah.
Yes, Anna.
Yeah. Because I want to restrict this multiple times. Only I'm expecting once the component is mounted, that means initial render happen. At the time only I want to execute that use effect. Otherwise, in the next time, whenever you do changes to the state, I don't want to execute that use effect anymore. So how to achieve that? Okay. Vasanta, do you know?
ఒక డిపెండెన్సీ అరేలో కౌంట్ అని ఇచ్చేస్తే అది ఓన్లీ వన్ టైం మాత్రమే రీరెండర్ అవుతుంది అన్నది అని అనుకుంటున్నాను.
Okay. Okay. Rajendra said in the use effect, if you provide a dependency array and if you put a count, this is what you're saying, Rajendra?
ఓన్లీ వన్ టైం మాత్రమే రెండర్ అని వస్తుంది. రెండర్ అని వస్తుంది
Let's say.
కన్సోల్ లాగ్లో.
Okay, let's see. Interesting. Okay, I'm just refreshing. Okay, first time anyway, it is rendered. I'm in use effect. Now tell me, I'm just updating the count. Rajendra said, if you put just this state variable into the dependency array, it is going to execute only one time. Okay, he's just guessing, or maybe he thought it is going to be correct. Okay, Varun, do you agree with him or not? And Vasanta, do you agree with Rajendra or not? Maybe you can say that, Raghu, you didn't explain all these things. How can we say that, right? You're just guessing.
రాసింటున్నా
Just guessing.
రాసింటున్నా
Yeah.
Okay.
రాసింటున్నా.
So fine. He's just listening the class. You don't disturb Rajendra, no? Okay. Rajendra, just See, Varun, I'm just clicking on the button. What is happening? It is executing use effect.
But it is taking some delay.
Okay, not delay. Like, of course, that's a very fraction. That's not a big deal. Okay, don't worry about the delay. But it is giving right. But Rajendra said 50% correct. Okay, we can handle with a dependency array, but we should not give anything here.
అన్న దాంట్లో ఒకటి రిటర్న్ స్టేట్మెంట్ రాస్తేనా యూస్ ఎఫెక్ట్ లో.
I will tell you. I will come to that point. So if you don't give any value, if you give an empty dependency array, this is very important. I'm saying this is very very important. So if you don't give any variable as a dependency or anything, it will act as a component did mount. That means it is going to execute only one time for initial render. Just remember this point, very very important thing. Now you see, just delete everything and refresh. So initial render happen, I'm in use effect. Now whenever I'm clicking on increment, okay, right now it is not executing use effect, right? That means whenever you put dependency array, empty dependency array, where is that? Dependencies. Whenever you put an empty array, that means it will act as a component did mount. Got it? Understood or not, everyone? Varun,
అగ్రి అన్న.
Rajendra,
So in
Vasika.
which scenarios it is useful, Ravi?
Tell me, Varun.
In which scenarios we can use this one?
Yeah, because normally you will send a request to the server to get the product details, right? Get the product detail. Once you display on the on the web page, and we are not going to send a request for each and every render, right? Suppose if you have done increment the add item to the cart or something, for each and every time we are not going to refresh the data. We are not going to send a request to the server. Okay, in the last example, okay, this is what we have done, right? In the use effect, okay, we are getting this post information from the server, right?
Yeah, Ravi, yeah.
Yeah, at the time,
అన్న
suppose, yeah, tell me, Varun, tell me, Rajendra.
దానికి ఆన్సర్ చెప్తున్నాను మీ అడిగిన దానికి.
Okay, tell me.
నో ఏం డౌట్ లేదన్న, ఏం
Okay,
డౌట్ లేదు.
okay, fine, fine. So here, so just understand. I will clarify everything. So whenever in situation, suppose in which situation we can discuss later. In which situation we can discuss later. Suppose in a situation you don't want to execute this use effect, okay, every time after re-rendering. So just use the empty array. So it is not going to re-render each. So it is not going to execute for each and every re-render. So see, got it? Clear this point, Varun?
క్లియర్ అన్న.
Okay. Now important thing is, suppose previously, suppose in some situation you want to execute for each and every time, for each and every re-render, the situation that if you have done any changes to this count, suppose if you want to display, if you want to execute this use count, okay, at the time you should mention that count as a dependency array. Okay, if you mention count, what will happen? If you mention count, what will happen? So I'm just taking another use effect. You can use n number of use effect in the same component. Okay, here what I'm doing, I'm just putting count. If you put the count here, I'm just putting like I'm in second use effect. Okay, the first use effect I said you should execute only first time when the component is mounted, or first time when the component has painted on the browser. That's it. And suppose in some situation, if you want to execute something, okay, why? Of course, definitely we are going to take some examples. Suppose if you want to execute, suppose if you want to achieve this component did update. That means suppose for each and every state update, you want to execute some code. Okay. In that situation, so you should mention the dependency array. Suppose right now in this component we have only one state, right? Suppose we can go with a multiple states, so not count, or you can say that here money. Suppose maybe it's not properly meaningful. Set money. Okay. So you have another handler, handle increment money, and at the time you are saying that money arrow mark money plus 5,000 rupees. You want to, so I'm just going to add one more button in the bottom. So I'm just putting the h1 tag for money. So just copy this button and just make the necessary updates. This handle increment money. Okay, here and observe carefully. Here we are doing updates to the money as well, right? Set, okay, it's not set. Oh, this is a set money. Fantastic. So just go and check your the result. Just refresh everything. Okay, run one more time the application. So if you see here render, I'm in first use effect, I'm in second use effect, because if you just give a use effect, okay, first time it is going to execute whenever it is rendered and whenever it is mounted successfully. And now observe carefully. Now tell me, just guess it. Okay, whenever I do changes to the money, whether it is going to execute this one, I'm in second use effect or not. Understood my question? Okay, okay, right now I'm just closing this. Okay, and we can do increment for the first state variable, and we can do increment for the money also. So just tell me, my question is, the initial render, we know, we understand initial render, what will happen. Initial render, what will happen. So now, if I click on add money, it is going to execute this event handler, and it is going to go with the set money and money arrow. So it is going to increment 5,000 rupees. So my question is whether it is going to execute this statement or not.
When you click on use money or account, Raghu?
Money. I'm asking money.
When you click on money,
Yes.
but here dependency are given count, right?
Yeah, just tell me whatever you understand. Based on that, tell me.
Maybe, mm, maybe no. I guess.
Okay, maybe what will happen? Execute or
Maybe no, Raghu. I
maybe
guess
no.
it's
Okay, why? Like, what is your thought process? Why you are saying maybe no?
because for dependency, second one you are given count, right? You are not given
Yeah,
money.
that's perfect. Because this is a dependency array, and this use effects is depend on count, right? If something happened to the count, if some changes happen to that count variable or state variable, then only it is going to execute this use effect. That's the meaning of the dependency. Observe carefully here. Observe carefully. Okay, I'm just removing. So initial render had completed. The second time, whenever I'm clicking on add money, it is just rendering. This rendered happened because that is rendering happened. Then new changes as updated on the original now and repainting is also done. Add money. So if you see again, now tell me whenever I click on increment, the count whether it will execute the use effect or not. Tell me now.
Yeah, Rohit. Second one, clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Rajendra, Vasanta, what is your answers? Arun said it is going to execute it.
Increment.
If I click on increment in the count, here I have given count as a dependency for this use effect. That whenever I click on this count, because whenever I click on add money, it is not executing that use effect. Okay, only it is rendering
We
happen.
go in second use effect.
కౌంట్ మీద ఇంక్రిమెంట్ క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు అన్న
Yes.
ఆమె యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అని వస్తుంది.
But you are not confident, right?
అన్న మనీ యాడ్ మనీ క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు రెండు రీరెండర్ అవుతుంది అన్న.
Okay. Add money me click చేసిన.
ఒకసారి ప్రోగ్రామ్ కోడింగ్ ఓపెన్ చేయండి. ఒకసారి కోడ్ ఓపెన్ చేయండి. కౌంట్ మీద క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు ఓన్లీ రీరెండర్ మాత్రం వస్తుంది. యాడ్ మనీ క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు రెండు రీరెండర్ అవుతుంది అన్న. ఐ మీన్ ఫస్ట్ యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అండ్ సెకండ్ యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ రీరెండర్.
Okay. You are saying that whenever we click on money, tell me.
ఐ
Whenever
మీన్
we are
ఫస్ట్
clicking,
యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అండ్ సెకండ్ యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అండ్ రీరెండర్డ్
మూడు వస్తాయి.
మూడు వచ్చేస్తున్నాయి.
Okay, let's see. Let's cross check what you said. Okay. I just remove everything. Whenever you click on add money, you said that is going to execute three things, right? No, it is just executing only one thing, that is rendered. Rajendra, just now we understand, right? If you give an empty dependence array, what is the meaning of that?
రీరెండర్ కాదు ప్రాసెస్ అనేది.
Yeah, even
Only
if
one
you
of-
do any changes in the state, it is not going to re-render, right? That means
And
whenever we increment the money, this is not going to execute, right? It's the second time. అర్థమైందా?
అర్థమైందన్న.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఏమన్నాం ఇక్కడ ఎంటీ డిపెండెన్సీ అని పెడితే మనం ఎప్పుడైనా యాడ్ మనీ మీద క్లిక్ చేసాం అనుకోండి, ఏ స్టేట్ అప్డేట్ అయినా కూడా నాకు సంబంధం లేదు, నేను ఓన్లీ ఫస్ట్ టైం కాంపోనెంట్ రెండర్ అయినప్పుడు మాత్రమే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతానని దాని మీనింగ్ కదా, రైట్?
అవునన్న. అవునన్న.
Very good. And if you mention the count means it is going to execute only when the count will change. Okay. So be here right now whenever you click on add money, it is this use effect is not going to execute because this is depend on count. This is not depend on money, right? That's why it is not going to execute. But whenever you click on the count, observe carefully. Now I am clicking on the count. Whenever I am clicking on the count, executing or not? Arun, Rajendra, whether it is
Yeah,
executing that use
definitely.
effect or not.
Yeah.
అవునన్న.
So if you put empty, it is not going to execute any time in a re-render process. Okay. And whenever you give a dependency array and if you mention the count, this use effect is going to execute only when it is found that some changes happen to this count variable. Okay, now observe carefully. I'm just putting one more use effect. Here I'm just putting. Okay. Now tell me. Now tell me. I'm just refreshing. Okay. First time, first use effect has also done. Second use effect also done. Third use effect also done. So now, Rajendra, tell me, whenever I click on add money, which use effect is going to execute or which is not going to execute? I'll show you the.
ఓన్లీ రెండర్ అనేది
Okay, render will execute always whenever it is first time render, second time render, third time render, 100th time render. By default, it is going to execute. Right now, we don't have a problem with render because it is going to execute each and every time the component has rendered. So my question is, in these three use effects, if I do increment the money, whether it is going to execute first effect or second effect or third effect, or it will execute first two or second two or all three, whatever the combination, permutation combination. Okay, ఈ మూడు యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ లో నేను మనీ స్టేట్ ని ఇంక్రిమెంట్ చేసినప్పుడు, మనీ స్టేట్ ని అప్డేట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఏ యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది?
ఐ మీన్ థర్డ్ యూస్ ఎఫెక్ట్ అన్న.
థర్డ్ షూర్?
అవునన్నా.
ఓన్లీ థర్డా లేకపోతే థర్డ్ తో పాటు ఇంకేదైనా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుందా?
రెండర్డ్ అనేది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది.
ఓకే, రెండెడ్ ఓకే, రెండెడ్ ఓకే. యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్
ఓన్లీ థర్డ్ ఒకటే అన్న.
థర్డ్. వెరీ గుడ్. Because this, the first, it is not going to depend on anything, because even though if it is account changes, even though if it is money changes, I'm not going to execute anything because this is the empty dependency array. Okay, this is going to execute only when we have done changes to the count. Okay, now Varun, tell me, if I click on this count, okay, what are the messages you will see in the console when I click on the increment?
Can you open on CS photo? I'm in second use effect.
This one also?
Yeah, rendered also.
Okay, rendered will happen every time. So it is going to execute only second use effect because that use effect is depends on the count, and the third use effect depends on money. First use effect depends on count, and third use effect is depends on money, and the first use effect is not depend on anyone. So now tell me, I'm just going to add one more use effect. Okay, if you understand our discussion, hopefully you will give a right answer now. Observe carefully. Observe carefully and tell me the answer. Okay, do you observe the code properly, or you want to, you can take 1 minute, that's fine. Use effect, or otherwise, this is fine, this is fine, because they don't give all the best information, they will try to confuse you. But whatever you understand based on that knowledge, just answer me. Okay, the first use effect is with empty dependency array, second use effect is depends on count, third use effect is depends on money, and the fourth is we didn't provide any dependency array. Then what will happen? Okay, observe the code, everyone. Shall I ask questions now? Varun,
Yeah,
now tell me, Varun, whenever I just refresh means initial row, how many messages you will get? What are those messages?
rendered.
Okay, rendered
First, second, third.
First,
Second,
third, fourth also?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
Which order? Rendered will come first or last or in the middle?
Render will come first.
Then
First, second, third, fourth.
use effects. Okay, very good. Let's see. We have still the answer. Okay, it is perfect. Okay, now Rajendra, tell me, observe carefully. Okay, I will show you. So now if I click on this count, what are the console.logs going to display? Okay, what are the messages we are going to see in this console.log? Look carefully. I'm asking the question count. So I will show you, I will open the code also. Just tell me.
Render first,
Okay.
and I'm in second use effect. I'm in fourth use effect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Now, Vasanta, are you ready to answer or is it not possible for you to talk? Yes means you are going to answer, right? Okay, fine. So the question is, if I click on, okay, I'm just removing this. If I click on add money, what are the console messages will come? If not possible for you to talk, you can ping me in the chat. That is also fine. You just observe the code and who are watching this video, you are lucky that third unrendered. Okay, which order? Whether it will execute third use effect first or rendered first. That is also important. It is a sequence of life cycle methods. Rendered first, then fine. Rendered first, and then third use effect. Very good. I hope you guys understood. Okay, now everyone, tell me, understood or not? You guys understood? Render will execute every time. That is the first life cycle method, and then use effect. Okay, but use effect depends on, okay, the dependency array. If you don't provide any array, okay, simply it is going to execute for each and every re-render. And if you put empty dependency array, it is going to execute only one time, that is first time when it is rendered. And then if you mention the count, that means whenever the count is updated and it is going to execute. Of course, first time all the use effects are going to execute, but the second time when it is going to re-rendered, it is depends on this dependency. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. This is very very important. Like even I'm saying, definitely minimum 32%, 30 to 40% of the students or junior developers really have a confusion between these things like dependency arrays or something. Okay, fine. Can you tell me, everyone understood or not? Just ping me in the comment section. Who are there in the call?
Can you explain diagram once?
Okay, cycle methods. Okay, this is like class-based component. Like in class-based component, we have a constructor. Functional component, of course, observe carefully. Render. Just remove this constructor in the functional components. Rendered means this one. Okay, this face. Whenever it is initial render or updation time, it is going to give that message. Then if you put empty dependency array, it will treat as a component did mod. Component did update means if you put any dependency value in that dependency array, it will treat as a component did update. And the only thing is pending like component will unmount. That we can discuss in the next few minutes. Observe carefully. If you see, this is the rendering phase. This is the rendering phase. Rendering phase means like when the all calculations are happening inside the React and it is just do the updates the virtual DOM. Okay, the committing phase means what are the changes found by the diffing algorithm and hand over to the reconciliation algorithm. So that reconciliation algorithm is going to update the things on the original DOM. React updates DOM and refs. That is commit phase. Then painting will happen inside. Okay, painting will happen after painting component did mount. So that's why I just drawn like this. So rendered, that means some calculations will happen, and commit phase means to apply the changes to the original DOM. Paint means just displaying like drawing all the updates on the web browser. After that, it will go and hit this use effect. But that is also have some dependency. So that's why observe carefully the use effect. So this use effect, the first one, that callback function is the setup, and the second one is the dependency array. Okay, if you have a time, please go and read the documentation and understand these examples. Okay, they have explained really beautifully. Okay, okay, fine. Now tell me, understood or not? One more time, clearly. Who are watching this video, understood or not? Just pin me in the comment section in the YouTube. Understood or not? This is very important topic. Of course, everything, because I'm just trying to simplify as much as possible. If you have a confusion, if you didn't understand anything, just reach out to me or just pin me in the comment section. Uh, Definitely, I will try to explain one more time for you. That's fine. So now, do you have a patience and time to understand this phase? Component will unmount, or shall we discuss this tomorrow? Because already we have taken lots of great information.
We can discuss now, Raghu.
Tomorrow?
No.
Now. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Vasanta is saying tomorrow? Tomorrow, please. Okay. Rajendra, what about you? Okay, fine. Okay. Of course, we are going to discuss that topic in detail tomorrow, but I will give some inputs today. Okay, within 5 minutes. Is it okay? Vasanta, 5 minutes is okay for you? Because I will just give a heads up. If you have a time, just go through the documentation and get ready for really important topic. Okay, that is component will unmount. Okay, Vasanta, if you have really urgent work, you can drop off. I will just give a heads up and we can start the session. Okay, well, this is very important. So if you see, sometimes, so use effect. Actually, what is the purpose of use effect means? Use effect means, normally we understand, right? If you want to filter any information from the state, we don't need to use a use effect. A use effect has a very important purpose. So mainly whenever you want to get some information from external system, that means you are connecting to the external system, or you are connecting to any other server or anything outside the React. And sometimes we will attach some event handlers in that use effect. Actually, I will come up with those examples so that you will understand easily. So whenever we have attached any event handlers, event listeners to the web API, or whenever you have open connection to the any servers, so whenever we are going to remove that component, suppose you have done a you have component. So once you are using the routing, you are shifting from one page to other page, or from one route to other route. At the time, sometimes we will unmount this component, right? Unmount this component. That means whenever you are going to remove the component, before removing the component, we should do a cleanup activity. Okay, cleanup activity. Suppose normally if you go to any picnic, okay, and you enjoyed that place, and you just thrown all the papers and all the things. Okay, but what is our responsibility? Whenever we are leaving from that place, we should clean up things, right? That is our responsibility. Of course, whether we do or not, that is the different thing, but that's the responsibility. So here also in React also, whenever you are going to unmount any component, you are going to, whenever you are going to remove a component from the original DOM. So before that, if you have any open connections, or if you have done anything, okay, that is not required further, so you should clean up those things for that. So that for that phase, that is called component will unmount. So normally, if you see, once you join in any company, before you are leaving they will ask, submit your laptop and all the accessories whatever they have provided, right? They don't ask after leaving, right? They will take all the laptops and everything just before leaving. Once you return your ID card and laptop and headset whatever, then only they will give a relieving letter to you, right? If I'm not wrong. Okay, that's what. So if you want to achieve that one, it's very very simple. It's very very simple, don't worry. So here inside the use effect, any use effect, if you have 100 use effects in a component or 10 use effects in one use effect, and if you want to do a cleanup activity, for that just return one more arrow function, return some arrow function, that's it. And just do console.log. Okay, let's do some cleanup activity. Okay, that's it. Okay, right now I'm not going to execute, I'm not going to show in the browser because it will lead to a lot of confusion without understanding it clearly. So that's we can discuss tomorrow. Is it okay, Varun? Rajendra, understood?
Yeah.
But whatever we have discussed today, please do practice multiple times. Don't say that, Raghu, I understand already, I have given a right answer whenever you are asking the question. Don't think in that way. Just do hands on. Okay, just do practice. Okay, I have given only two state variables, right? Just go with the three state variables and just try to implement dependency arrays. Suppose if you can put multiple dependencies also. Suppose here, just take another one, count comma money. Let's see what will happen. Okay, what will happen. So just do practice and show it to me tomorrow. Thank you and see you again tomorrow. The tomorrow's concept is most important topic, and interviewers just checking our knowledge. Like suppose if you are attending an interview as a 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years of experience with React, definitely they will ask the question what we are going to discuss tomorrow. Already first they will check whether you will give a right answer for this kind of situations. Once you give a right answer, then they will go to the next level. Otherwise, they will say HR will contact you very soon. But the HR will never contact us. Okay, okay, fine. So that's all. Let me stop the recording.